Hi there. I have a question, and it's basically related to my other video about the alien nature of most things that we have these days, because they are a product of our fantasy, and they have never been tested against life, other life in the world. And that is that I read an article about a guy who said, well, autonomous lethality is going to be here, and it's going to be a fact of life. It's going to be part of defense. And what he was talking about is predator drones flying around, finding signatures, heat signatures of humans, and then determining whether it's a target or not, and simply shooting it without calling back or checking up. His argument was that you have to do it really fast, but that's BS. I don't believe that at all. If you have drones flying over somebody, but that's always the argument. We have to be faster, stronger, harder. Well, the problem with that, I think, and that's the interesting question, is what will happen to the real army? If you already have sentinel machine guns that basically you can put on a fence somewhere and you might not even see it, and you walk around in the field in front of it and you get shot, and automatically. Uh, but what about these? What about if both sides of an army have flying drones that autonomously kill very effectively, and if they kill with laser beams or something like that, then they can continue doing that as long as they like, if they have solar panels. That's like the most devious thing. You build an autonomous machine that works on renewable energy, and in robo-economics it works for the benefit of everybody, but in the minds of a DARPA expert, psychopath, and I met a few in my life, who tried to make me invent and make autonomous machines, because I was doing machine learning. But in the mind of a psychopath like that, it becomes the ultimate killing machine, Robocop, that type of stuff. It's a problem, I think, for the real army. I think that if you're a soldier in the real army, you have to wonder, do I want to be in a system where I might be put up against a machine? There's not even a human there to kill me. And what does it mean if I try to make my own weapons more autonomous and more lethal? And when does it stop? And where does it stop? And how lethal and how autonomous? Is it? Do we have to hand over at some point the security of our nation to machines? Like you have a Mexican border fence. It has sentinels with machine guns. Those sentinels are maintained by machines. They drive around and supply ammunition and do maintenance on these things. And they're all solar powered. Nobody has to approach them or touch them or maintain them. They're autonomous. And of course the guns, the bullets are made in some autonomous factory that recycles the shells that are basically searched for and found by little robots on the other side, pried out of the dead bodies that are lying on the other side. It's not. It's like super autonomous. It's not really a vision that is new to me, because I read a comic book a long time ago, when I was about 7 years old or something like that. Real cool comics about a guy living on a planet, and he's hunting for something, and he thinks it's a machine, and then he finds the machine and he shoots it, but the machine shoots back and kills him, and then the machine comes over and operates upon him and repairs his heart and resuscitates him and gives him some sedatives and moves away again, because that's the function of the machine. The machine was an autonomous medical surgery machine, working on atomic power or something, like some fantasy power that is in these comic books. But the whole concept is that it goes on forever. The guy wakes up and he's hunting for the same machine again. He doesn't know why. Mobius is one that's very good in trying to make up these type of comics. It's interesting. It's a fantasy, and I think that the real army, I think, should be aware of what it's creating if it's doing that, because it knows, all the soldiers in the real army, everybody with a pulse, will know what they're making. They're making something that is going to be fostered and egged on and cured and improved, and let's say perfected into being your perfect enemy. Talking about fantasies, by the way, I heard that the third Zeitgeist video or movie is about what would happen if we would create a whole new planet. And I think that's typical of the whole Zeitgeist thing. There is no new planet. It's what I have against Zeitgeist movies is that they are they 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 create a mental box that you're in, which is about fantasy and opportunity and all that stuff, and then they move you away from reality. That's basically what's happening. The only thing you need to do to fix the problem is to get as much renewables as you possibly can as soon as possible. And then you fix the problem, because then you don't need carbon energy anymore. And then you can fix all the other problems. That's the only thing you need to know, and the only thing you need to do, basically. And I can now from experience tell you that if you build a house of straw bales, you don't need any fuel, because the house is warm by itself. I had dinner in it yesterday with some friends, and it just, your body heat stays in there. You're 80-watt heat bulb, basically. Our lives, our bodily activities, our metabolism generates about 80 watts, like a light bulb of 80 watts. It's heat, and it sticks around if you isolate your home well enough. But that's what I have about, I think, and the same goes like what I said about Zeitgeist. You don't need a big movie with all kinds of people talking about the problems and the solution and stuff like that. You only need to know that it's about removing carbon energy, replacing it, and then getting into recycling and rebuilding, getting into the robo economy, let's say. There's some people that talk online about the third industrial era based on words of Rifkin, but Rifkin is a shill as well. He's right in the middle of American politics. He's talking about renewables and the way that, there's a strategy to that. You can screw up people's minds, because what's technology to most people? It's computers. And what do most people understand about computers? Nothing. They understand nothing about it. They use internet and that's it. So, but that's the closest they come to technology every day. Smartphones maybe, but that's not really, people are not really aware of that, and it's not really historically named as something high-tech or something. Like smartphone is a computer, a portable computer. So what do Rifkin do? What does Ray Kurzweil do? They start about a story. They say, well, we got the energy is depleting, and we have all these renewables and blah blah blah, and then we will have a network just like the internet. People know that, and that's technology. And they think that there's a link to of the two, but then it's never explained. And what Rifkin does is he says, well, you have coal, which is the elite. It's an elite fuel. What he claims to try to say is that it's a marginal fuel, which means that the power that you get from coal in the earth is marginal compared to with the power of the sun, which you get every day. Which is something that Hermann Scheer in Germany said, and which is true. And oil and coal and nuclear are all marginal energy sources. They all have like a pitiful amount of energy comes from coal, and it's so cumbersome to burn in all that stuff. If you compare it to solar energy, wave energy, wind and geothermal. So, but he said, his words are then that he says, well, this coal is an elite power, and then he says wind and solar are soft powers. And then he says he is going against that. So, wind and solar were used to be called soft powers, but now we have the internet, that's basically what he's saying. Well, it doesn't make any sense to anybody, and he's not focusing people on the opportunities and the possibilities of these type of energies. Like with wind, you can make ammonia. With ammonia, you can run your car, you can fertilize your land, and you can do all kinds of other stuff. It's a very nice fuel. It's one of those fuels. And there's no carbon in ammonia, so it's a carbon-free fuel. You want to have that. You can make it very efficiently with wind power. So then your conversion is not very bad, actually. And ammonia is basically nature's fossil fuel. You can also say hydrogen, but ammonia is what's in the ground, what makes plants grow, and it's the fuel for plants, basically. And it's made by bacteria. They make ammonia, and then other animals eat it, and that's, you know, it's there's all these molecules that contain energy, and ammonia is one of them. It's very good one, and it's actually what ammonia is hydrogen plus nitrogen. So it's stored hydrogen. If you want to store hydrogen, you can do it in ammonia. Much easier than when you try to do it as hydrogen gas, because you have to compress gas. Ammonia is liquid at normal temperatures. Anyway, now I completely. But Rifkin, so there's these people talking about renewables, and they're basically shills, because they're not talking about it in the right way. They're not making it very simple and clear, and they're not putting your, let's say, your left foot for your right foot. They're just showing you that there's a big barricade, there's all kinds of stuff sticking out, or that there's another example is like this Nocera guy, who starts his lecture very. This is a little bit of a random talk, but I think it's worth a mention. He starts his lectures with, "I don't care about you." Okay, if somebody stands up and says, well, he says, "I'm a little bit different from our previous speaker because I don't care about you." Okay, you can stand up and walk away and let this guy, you know, suffocate. That's what we say in Holland, stick. What the fuck is he gonna tell you if he doesn't care about you? That's useful to you. Nothing. And he doesn't. What he says is that you can store a lot of energy in hydrogen. We know that. So if you have a MIT swimming pool of hydrogen, or let's say hydrogen gas, then you can power the whole world with it. Well, big news. He also says that it's not possible to have enough solar panels to power the world fast enough. That's a claim he makes. It's not true, but it's a claim he makes. But then, very quickly in his lecture, he says, well, you know, we have all this hydrogen, we can have this hydrogen, we can do it. How are we going to make the hydrogen? With solar panels. So you have to be attentive to people that take the limelight, that take the spotlight, and try to tell you the way things are and the way things can be. They are, for the most part, bullshitters, especially when they look really wealthy. Then they're bullshitting. We have one big guy with the wind plan. What's this guy? The oil guy? I forgot his name. But Pickens, T-Bone Pickens with his wind plan. That was a big diversion. Worked really well. So you don't need all that stuff. There was another one, but now I forget. Well, this is a 12-minute video. I hope you enjoy it, and well, have a good evening.